Hi everybody, my name is Wicks and I'm a recent graduate from Pepperdine. My piece of advice to remain resilient throughout your collegiate journey would be to learn where you want to invest your time and energy, whether that's with friendships, your classes, and just things you do on a day-to-day basis, with your jobs, internships, extracurricular activities, whatever it is. Just learn where you want to invest that time and energy, because all of that will come back to you, and it can be positive or it can be negative. Another thing I would recommend is to really rely on the professors and faculty at Pepperdine. I've met so many amazing staff members who genuinely want the best for me and have set me up for a lot of successes throughout my collegiate journey. So use that Dine with a Student. If you don't know what that is, it's a free meal that Pepperdine pays for you and a professor or faculty member to have lunch or grab a coffee at Pepperdine. So really just try to build those relationships and make the most of your time. And I think if you learn where you want to invest that time and energy, it'll help you a lot to remain resilient and get through your collegiate journey.
Hi, my name is Allie McMullen, and this is my cat, Knox. I graduated in the class of 2023, and something that I would say helped me stay resilient through post-grad is definitely having a cat to take care of. I think it really helped me when times got stressful to have something to look after, but also just to come home to when things got lonely or I had a stressful day at work. It was cute coming home to a cat who would come up to me and love on me and who I could take care of and give my love to as well. I would say another thing, both through college and through post-grad, was definitely finding a community, girls I could really surround myself with that lifted me up and that I could lift up, really helped me through tough times and just being resilient through all of it. And then also working out and finding a really good program that I could immerse myself in and find strength in and have a lot of confidence in myself and what I was doing. I think working out and especially yoga really helped me find more confidence in myself and really just helped me strive and be resilient throughout both college and post-grad.
Hello everyone, my name is Devin Cooke and I am a class of 2024 alumnus. And my advice for you all today in regards to resilience throughout your collegiate and post-collegiate experiences is to control what you can control, but stay true to yourself in the process. So don't let the abundance of stress, worry, denial, or any negative thoughts that you may have within academia, your social lives, or any other dimension in your lives disable you from your heart's desire, your mind's curiosity, and your ambition to capture your dreams and aspirations. Let God handle the uncontrollable and unknown in your life, and be open to growth within periods of adversity in your life, as you'll become stronger from overcoming those troubled times.
Welcome to the RISE Roundtable, a podcast from Pepperdine University's RISE program. Here, there is no head at the table, everyone has a seat, and every story matters. Join us as community members share their unique journeys of resilience, celebrating the paths that connect us all. On today's episode, Pepperdine alumni Emily Shaw and Kenneth Vargas sit around the RISE Roundtable to reflect on their resilience journeys at Pepperdine and to share some tips and insights they've learned along the way.
Hi, Kenny.
Hi, Emily.
Welcome back to campus.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I remember like it was yesterday that I saw you walk across the stage at graduation not too long ago.
That's right.
So it's really good to have you back here in person.
Thank you.
Do you mind sharing like a little bit about yourself? And we'll start off there, maybe like when you graduated and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So I graduated a couple weeks ago, like you mentioned. I was a class of 2024. I majored in screen arts with a minor in journalism, and I got cum laude.
Congrats.
I was able to get that little honors.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then I also had
a lei
full of Ferrero Rochers by you.
Yes, that was actually created by Stacy.
By Stacy,
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, but I was able to hand it to you on behalf
That
of
was
her.
really
so
sweet. That was
were you
really
able to
sweet of you
eat
both.
through all of them?
I have one more packet.
Oh my gosh.
It's really good. My favorite candy. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you for that. And thank you,
Yeah.
Stacy, too, for that.
So your graduation kind of marked a year since my graduation. So we're not too far apart in terms of our classes, but I graduated in 2023, spring of 2023. So it was so weird to be like back as an alum at your graduation. And Stacy also made me a little like a candy lei, but my candy of choice was Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. So that was really good. I think that took me a while to make through, but I was able to munch my way through that lei. And yeah, I studied psychology and ethnic studies. So those were what I studied. But two alumni together.
Two great alumni.
We got to work together on this podcast last year, which is how we grew closer as friends, which is awesome. And now we can kind of share our reflections. Let's see, what is it, June? So 2 months or a month in as an alum. And then for me, a year and a month in to my postgraduate experience.
Yes.
But yeah, just wanted to share some reflections for the podcast.
Yes. I'm sure that our reflections are going to really connect with students as we were students. So these are going to be very, very relevant.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yeah, because we didn't graduate too long ago. So it's fresh in our minds.
It's fresh on our minds.
Do you want to start off with our first kind of takeaway?
For sure. I feel like this really connects with the experience that I had coming to Pepperdine. I missed my first year to COVID. And so my first year being here was my sophomore year. And I didn't know it at the time, but I felt like in my mind I was trying to take advantage of the time that I might have missed, that I did miss. So my first takeaway that we want to share is to take advantage of your time at Pepperdine. It's a limited time. And I don't say that to put pressure on students, but just to acknowledge that 4 years, while it is a lot of time, at the same time it goes by so quickly.
You don't realize until the 4 years go by.
Yeah, until you're like at the last one, you're like, oh my God. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and take advantage of all the opportunities that interest you. And there are so many opportunities at Pepperdine. And this one that we're currently on is an example of the fact that there are so many opportunities. Yeah, that's a takeaway that I feel resonates with my experience.
What opportunities did you kind of take advantage of during your time at Pepperdine?
Yeah, I wore many different hats.
Yeah.
I worked at one point, this was during my senior year, I had 4 jobs at one time. And so that was a lot, but I felt like I did that so that I could leave Pepperdine with good experience behind me so that I can just be a suitable candidate for jobs. So in those jobs, so I worked as a graphic designer / creative team member in Jumpstart. I made newsletters for Jumpstart and did photography, a little bit of videography. And I had a lot of experience with Jumpstart prior to that. I was a team leader in the classroom with children. Before that, I was a team member. So I've had the most experience with Jumpstart. I was with Jumpstart for 3 years, starting my sophomore year.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
That's
great.
Awesome.
Savannah, shout out to Savannah and Davina.
Love
them so much. Great supervisors. And yeah, they gave me that opportunity to really apply my creative skills in Jumpstart as a creative team member. So that was great. And then I got to work for the RISE podcast. It's my senior year that you gave me the opportunity to be a part of, and here we are now, 8 episodes in. I was also involved in the 2 practicum programs here at Pepperdine. So with the graphic newspaper as a graphic designer, and then I was involved with Newswaves in multiple different roles. The last role that I took was as director for the news show.
Wow.
So it was a great 4 years that I had here. But the last 3 where I was on campus, I really took advantage of the opportunities that I wish I would have taken advantage of sooner if I was here sooner. But I'm grateful for the time that I had. And I'm so grateful that Pepperdine has these opportunities. I feel like because of the fact that I can tell you that I've done 4 jobs that have really applied my skills, my interests, I feel very grateful, and I feel like it was like fate that I came here in that way, because I'm also a Posse Scholar, so that wasn't easy either. But like I'm here for a reason. It really feels that way.
Wow.
What co-curriculars were you involved in during your time at Pepperdine?
Yeah, I feel like similarly, kind of what you were saying, where you were kind of involved not only in a lot of different things, but you kind of stuck with a couple of things and then rose up, I feel like, or at least kind of expanded or specialized in those organizations, which is really cool to see because I feel like that's like I've seen you kind of like we didn't start to get to know each other until my senior year and your junior year.
Right.
But even like seeing you and like the leadership that you've kind of taken on this campus throughout the years, it's been really cool to witness as a peer. And yeah, I also was definitely involved in a lot of different things. So like RISE, the graphic, HRL as a resident advisor. So HRL as in Housing and Residence Life. And then I had like an off-campus job. So it all took up a lot of time. And I think as a student, it really forced me to think about time management as a life skill. When we talk about RISE's dimensions, we know there's the life skills dimension that talks about time management. And so I think being involved in so many things, which I'm so grateful that I was able to take on, but it also forced me to work on my time management, be organized, use that Google Calendar, be communicative, know that the time management doesn't only affect me, like my practice of time management also affects the people around me. So like making sure that I'm valuing my time with other people and like going scheduling things like professionally speaking. So all those things. But even thinking about our journey at Pepperdine and all the things that we've been through, I think about how while we can look back on those things and like know that we grew in those roles, I'm sure it took for both of us a level of growth mindset to think, okay, we're going to take on something new and challenging. And it was almost a risk. Like we didn't know if we'd be technically good at it or really succeed at it, but we really tried our best, had a growth mindset, knew that we would learn a lot through it. And that's why I took on those jobs. I remember starting in the graphic, I was like, I've never been a part of a newspaper before. I don't know if I can write very well. Like I was doubting myself a lot, but I really stretched myself and I was like, Emily, you're in college. You're here to learn. This is your purpose for being here. You're a student. And to me, the graphic seemed like such a special opportunity and it ended up being one. So I'm very thankful that I had that growth mindset at the time that allowed me to gain all the skills that I have now. But yeah, I'm sure, I don't know if you relate to any of that.
Definitely. I was going to say it, and you just said it, that's the whole point we're here, is to learn and to explore our potential, to grow it, to have the growth mindset, to really see how far we can go. And it sounds kind of cheesy, but like our potential is limitless, truly, you know, especially where we are, you and I, having been here at Pepperdine, a very good college, you know, like we have a lot of privilege, and I'm sure that you relate to this coming from an immigrant family, that like it's kind of incumbent on us to kind of take real advantage of all of the setting up of success that our parents kind of helped us get to, you know, because I don't want to assume for you, my family didn't get the opportunity that I had, right? Like I'm the first in my family to go to, you know, like the quote unquote big name college, you know, like that's something that I got to experience that I don't want to leave feeling like I didn't take advantage of it, like I didn't make the most out of it, you know, and in some way that might feel like a lot of pressure, but I think for me what made it feel not so anxiety inducing or stress inducing or oh my god there's so much pressure on me is that I had the freedom, thanks to my parents too, I had the freedom to study what I wanted to, you know, like really explore what interested me, not what was pushed onto me. So I think that was the big factor that made it enjoyable and not as stressful.
I love that. It almost sounds like you were kind of being motivated from a mindset of gratitude. Like it sounds like you've really embodied gratitude for your parents and what they've done for you, gratitude for being at this opportunity at this institution, and then gratitude for the freedom to be able to pursue your passions. And then that gratitude almost fueled you, it seems like, to be like, okay, I'm grateful, so I want to like really get into all these things that I'm passionate about. So I love that about you, Kenny. It sounds like you really operate from a really just lovely mindset of of being grateful for the opportunities you've given and then taking advantage of those opportunities so that you can continue being you. So
Thank you.
I think that's really incredible. I feel like that connects to our second point here that you wrote down actually first. And you wrote down making time for your support system, your loved ones. And you wrote, it's easy to disconnect from everyone because of our responsibilities as a student. But you wrote, we are naturally social beings and we need that time to connect with others. What was kind of going through your head when you wrote that?
That's a great question. Of course, I was reflecting on my time. And as we're talking about, we were both very busy. And I felt very busy with all of the jobs that I had, especially during my senior year. And I felt like I really didn't have a lot of communication with my family. I didn't even go see them as much as my sophomore year, my junior year. I'm fortunate enough to live about 2 hours away. But in my senior year, I was so busy that I didn't really make that drive to go see them as much. And I didn't talk to my parents as much as I think I would have wanted to, because, I mean, I can make the excuse that I was busy, which I was, and I did have the support system around me with my friends and my partner, my boyfriend, to talk to them. But I feel like that component of having my family involved was something that I was missing and that I would have really wanted to have during that time when I was busy. But I think that's also just something, like, for me personally, that I still need to work on. And I guess this is kind of detracting from the point, but this was on my mind today too, even before recording, that, like, my parents are working parents, and at that time I was so busy. And now that I'm back home, I feel like I still need to do that work to connect with them, because they're working and they're also raising my sister, who's 4 years old, and they connect a lot with her naturally because she's a little baby. And I feel like I'm missing that social, emotional bonding with my parents. And it's a two-way street. Like, they might have not been as maybe emotionally there for me at certain times, but that doesn't mean that I'm destined for this experience forever. Like, I am my own person, so I can put in that work to kind of say, like, hey, like, you know, let's go do something together, you know, me and you know, my stepdad and my sister, let's all do something together. Like, I'm not doomed, basically. And then going back to the growth mindset, like, it shouldn't be like this forever. I have the power to connect with them. So I just wanted to say that because that was on my mind.
Yeah.
But,
no, thank you for sharing that. I feel like that's such an interesting post-grad experience, because similarly, I also moved back home in with my parents and with my family. And I think there's a sense of gratitude of, like, oh, they're taking me back in. They're letting me live with them, which is really nice. I'm very grateful. But then also, like, you're kind of navigating a new relationship with your parents as a postgraduate, also as an adult, you know, as their adult child. And it's different because as a child, or as a young child, they're kind of always, like, enmeshed in your life in some way because they're responsible for your well-being to an extent. But then as an adult, there's an independence that they're, like, trying to see, like, what are your boundaries? What are their boundaries? But then you still want to connect with them. And it's like finding different ways to connect. For me and my mom, we found that it's like we do yoga together. So we go to yoga classes together. That really, like, bonds us. And I think also learning how to just, like, talk to each other, because she has her own, she's, like, very much, like, when I was younger growing up, she was more involved in our life and in taking care of us and not working as much. And now she's, like, very busy with her work. And so being more curious about her work life as an older adult child of hers. So, and then even my dad and my grandmother, who also lives with us. So just being curious, more curious about them as an adult rather than just, like, a child who's being taken care of them. That's been a transition for me, for sure. But yeah, I think it's interesting that we share that experience.
I'm curious, and what you just brought up made me think about, I've had this thought in my mind that maybe I don't talk as much to my parents or to, for example, like my really good friend Teddy. Like, I know him very well. I feel like at times I'm not as talkative as I might want to be. And then in my head, I think to myself, maybe it's because I know so much about them already that maybe I just gotta learn to be, and like what other questions can I pose to them? But I don't know if that's like a super truthful thing. Like, I want to be talkative. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want that thought to be like the reason why I am complacent or just not. I'm not talking. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I want to talk, but I just don't. I think to myself that, like, oh, I know about my mom already. I know about my stepdad already. Like,
Right.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's very interesting because I think I fall into the same habit. Because as a kid, you're like, I know my parents. Like, I don't need to ask them any questions. And I also love this reflection because it reminds me that, so in the social dimension of resilience, like, they talk about reach out to new people. Like, don't be afraid to talk to new people, or like, don't be afraid to say the first hello. And I think sometimes I forget that can also apply to the people you already know. And like RISE talks about, like, being curious about others as like a social skill and being empathetic. And it's something that we think we are already doing, but it's like, how can we create that mindset that we have with new people when we're talking to and introducing ourselves to new people, to like the people that we've already known for so long. So it's like applying that to our loved ones. So and I think that's what you're kind of tapping into, I feel like, is how can we be curious and empathetic towards the people we've already known for forever and feel like we've known, like, we feel like we almost know them better than they know themselves sometimes. Because we're just that close or whatever it is.
Right.
And see them as human beings who are also evolving and growing. It's like, I think being back at home has been such a joy for me because I get to see my parents also be on their journey. Like, I feel like I'm kind of seeing them with newer eyes, where I'm like, oh, they're on their own journey too. Like, I get really excited for my mom too in her teaching career. And then my dad, as he's learning how to navigate being a caregiver to his mom, who, like, my grandmother has dementia, and then also like picking up new hobbies at home because he's had a home more as a caregiver. So it's like my parents, seeing them going through these transitions, I'm like, wow, they're on their own journeys as human beings, and I'm kind of along for the ride and get to witness that a little bit. So being curious about others, seeing them as themselves, as whole human beings. So definitely learning that too.
Yeah, it's definitely, they're not, all of our journeys are not static, right? We're always transforming. So
Always,
like that's definitely a point of curiosity that can be tapped into. Yeah.
Anyway, so much we can talk about there. I feel like, just to reiterate how important support, like accessing our support system is and making time to connect with them. Research shows that caring and supportive relationships are the primary factor in our resilience. So I think as you're reflecting on your relationship with your family, I just think that shows how much it's important to us and our well-being. It's like, I feel like it bothers me when I feel like my relationships with the people closest to me aren't very, like, something's not great or whatever, not how I want it to be. And there's a reason for it. It's because we, like you were saying, we're social beings. We care about our relationships.
Yeah, that's really, and I also connect that, not to kind of like focus too much on this point, but like I wrote up an article, and I had an assignment for my journalism capstone class. I decided to focus on student loneliness at Pepperdine. So I wrote this article for that class, and in reporting for that article, I learned that we are inherently social beings, and when we feel lonely and isolated and like we don't have a support system, it really affects our health in these very negative ways. And so I learned through reporting on that assignment that really nurturing our relationships is far greater for us than we might know, than we might think of. Like there was just a quick anecdote that I learned from this article, is that there was like a Harvard study
Yeah.
that's like the longest running study ever done on people. And basically the number one takeaway from that study was that, quote, the only thing that really matters in life are our relationships with other people. Like that's the one thing that really helps determine whether we age in a healthy manner or we deteriorate. It's like that, the fact that we have people, healthy relationships, or we don't. So just knowing that we really should set aside time and energy to those people who we really feel connected to and just continue nurturing that. So that was the thinking.
No, that's really helpful. Thank you for sharing that, Kenny. Yeah, I feel like learning that too, I think about, not to prolong this topic, but I think sometimes when I learn that, this, like, even though it's powerful research and I'm like, oh yes, I got to invest in my relationships, sometimes I feel a sense of shame where it's like, oh, when I do feel lonely, am I only hurting myself? Like, you know, where it's like, okay, what if I'm in a place where I do feel lonely and I don't feel like I have that many friends or loved ones around me that I connect with? Then yes, I know relationships are important, but how can I get there? And I think so I try to like change my mindset a little bit from like the shame mindset of feeling ashamed that I don't have it. I feel like that's completely normal to experience.
Very normal.
I've experienced that many times of feeling alone and feeling disconnected from others. It happens in waves sometimes, to be honest. And then I remember there's people around me. And so I think trusting that there are people around you and eventually allowing the world around you to show you and reveal that to you. And also trusting yourself that you can connect with others, even though it might take time. I think there's a level of faith and trust that I had to have with myself and others to know that relationships will come and connection will come. Yeah. So anyways.
Setting aside time.
Yes.
There's like a quick thing, like we wrote down some examples.
Yeah.
Cooking a meal together, watching a movie, going to the beach. It's right in our backyard. Having a picnic on Alumni Park, going on a hike, studying at the library. The ways to kind of like interconnect our daily tasks. Studying, maybe I could study with friends, cook together, you know, like things like that.
Right.
Could really help connect people together.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. I love those examples.
Yeah. So another point, kind of relating to what we talked about, our health, and there's many aspects to our health, obviously. One specifically that I've been cognizant of is just physical health. Prioritizing your physical health while you're here, studying, focusing on all of the different co-curriculars that you might have. You need to prioritize your physical health, and we might hear that a lot, but I think it's important to reiterate the fact that, you know, we need to prioritize how many hours of sleep we get, you know, having at least 8 hours of sleep, staying hydrated throughout the day, staying active, however we like to experience that. There's many different ways.
Right.
And that might be a little difficult because Pepperdine students are especially very, very busy and very involved. Like we that's something that I know that I hear a lot, and I know that that's true, that we're go-getters largely. So, and so we might sacrifice our physical health, not getting as many hours of sleep, but just making sure that we do that we set aside time for that, for exercising and going to sleep at the right time. Yeah, and I also wrote here the fact that we also have mood changes. And I don't know how well that connects to this idea, but I thought that was I learned this in my intro to psychology class, that like we, from a day to day, even from one day, our mood might change, and so we might not be our best selves at one particular moment, but that doesn't mean that we are always going to be, you know, that way, that we don't have to put ourselves down because we might have not acted our best at this point in time.
Yeah. I love that. I feel like that reminds me when I used to play sports growing up, my coach would always say, like, be like Dory, you know, like have a short memory because you make a mistake, forget about it. Just move on and just keep playing the game.
Or learn from it.
Or learn from it.
Yeah.
Like shake it off type of thing. Don't let it drag down your next step. And I think similarly with physical resilience habits, whether it's getting enough sleep at night or eating well, nourishing your body, or like getting enough movement in you, sometimes there's a little bit of like, oh, I didn't eat well today. Yes, say you didn't eat or work out or move or drink enough water one day doesn't mean that you can't do it the next day or the next hour. So having a short-term memory helps when setting new habits, I think, because then it gets rid of the shame aspect, I think, as well. You're like not ashamed about what you did before. You're like, okay, I didn't do it last time. I'm going to do it now. You know?
Yeah.
But I love that. And I think also with those 3 building blocks of the physical dimension of resilience, of sleep, exercise, and nutrition, it also not only helps our mental health and our physical health, but also just like prevents us from getting sick all the time too, which we need to keep our immune system up during the school year, especially when we're around so many people. And then also it helps with our memory and ability to learn. So being able to focus in class, when you're taking care of your body, you're able to function. So I think that's another motivating factor to take care of ourselves. I wanted to ask for time management, like how do you manage prioritizing like your physical well-being, the physical resilience, and then also your social resilience, like your social support? How do you manage all of that? Or any tips on that?
That's a really good question. Like I've going back to like my senior year when I was super busy, I did find time to get in some working out. Like that was my physical kind of exercising, was like going to the gym here, taking advantage of it because it's free.
Yeah.
Like truly, I feel like for me, I really had this talk with myself that you really can find the time if you really look at the time that you have during the day. You have your classes, you have your job responsibilities, and you really could set aside like at least an hour for physical exercise, at least, or even at most, if you look at it that way, like an hour, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It's really not asking a lot of your day, for me at least, because think about it. Like you could spend 30 minutes to an hour on your phone. Truthfully, I do that a lot now. Because
I do that too.
Right? Like because I feel like I have so much more time now, not going to school. I do that a lot with my phone.
Yeah.
And I get down on myself about it. But like that same amount of time, you could doing something productive or something that like you really enjoy doing that's creative, something like that. So just like really be honest with your time and look at it and say like, well, how am I using my time now, and how can I just be more productive moving forward?
Right.
And it's okay if you're not being as productive as you might want to be. And productive doesn't have to mean like doing work and, being this working machine, just like taking care of yourself too. That's productivity, is taking care of yourself. So the time you spend on technology, social media, that might not be as productive as you doing something else. So just thinking about it that way.
Or having an extra hour of sleep.
Oh my God, that would be huge. That would be huge. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a really good point. And it reminds me of this quote in like RISE's workbook, or like their roadmap, and it says we all have 24 hours a day. The difference is in how we spend them, right? And I do think time is a luxury that not all of us have equally, just with like all our different responsibilities, but definitely wanting to reflect on how we manage our time and see if we can reimagine our 24 hours in different ways that works best for us. So I love that. Thank you, Kenny.
Yeah.
Kind of on the opposite direction of that, of like trying to figure out how to be productive, how to use our time wisely. I also think post-grad has really taught me how to be unproductive in a joyful way. So kind of thinking about the cognitive and spiritual dimensions of resilience, I've been really trying to embrace creativity, channeling my creativity in different ways. That's not necessarily productive, or like how we usually think of the word productive. And then also being in nature, being outside, however that might be. There's lots of different ways to connect with nature. It doesn't have to be being outside. It can also be reflecting on nature, looking outside our windows, looking at what's in our environment, what's in our surroundings. So like some ways I've been channeling my creativity is my mom plays the piano. So we have a piano at home, which is very nice. And so I've just been playing around the piano. I also have a guitar that I used for a guitar class at Pepperdine that I took. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say I'm good at it. Here's the thing.
Okay.
When I say channel your creativity, I don't mean master something.
Right.
You can.
Yeah.
You definitely can if you want to. But my thing is, I can enjoy something without necessarily being amazing at it, which was a different mentality, especially as someone who was typically a perfectionist, having that irrational cognition. I was able to overcome that, honestly, by embracing me being bad at something but still enjoying it. So that's helped.
I got to pick that up.
For example, surfing. I'm horrible at surfing, but I love being in the water. And I borrow my brother's surfboard, like the 10-foot foam board, and I go out and I paddle around. And do I catch waves? Sometimes not. Sometimes I'm just like laying out there like a seal, and that's okay. Or writing poetry. I think I just was able to finally access the joy that writing poetry can bring by getting over my fear of writing a really cringy poem. Because
yeah.
will I share my poetry with other people? Not necessarily.
Yeah, it's your choice. Yeah.
But I will write it anyways. And I love it because it's such a different mode of writing and reflecting and expression that allows me to like describe something not in a logical manner. So anyways, just some examples. I really encourage other people to try that when they're in school, or if they don't have time, just know that one day they will have time, and to try something new for just for fun.
Are you a poet who likes to rhyme a lot? Or
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
I like hate structure. So I kind of write whatever.
Yeah, it's
and
like
say it's poetry.
It's like it's cathartic and kind of like therapeutic in a way.
Yeah, and I can really zone in and be present with when I'm writing, which is nice. Like I'll be at a coffee shop and I'll just like put my earphones in and I'll just start writing, and I'm very grateful that I've found that for myself.
And does the length matter? Like, do you no?
However long it takes for me to finish a thought.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, like I wrote my mom a poem for her birthday last year, and so that was my little act of service, I guess.
Whoa.
Like a small act of service, talking about the service dimension of resilience. But just like choosing something you love and a way that you love to express love and gifting that to another human, I think has been really lovely to use poetry. Anyways, also we just know that being creative is really good for our mental health. There's research that shows that. That's a wonderful way to renew our minds and get over perfectionism. And it can also be a spiritual practice if you let it be one. So, but kind of in line with that, I mentioned being in nature. And I was looking at some research, and whether it's being in the water, in the ocean, walking on the track, breathing, meditating, looking outside our windows, I think for me it's become a spiritual practice because it reminds me that I'm part of something bigger than myself. And there's research that shows that our relationship with nature, how much we notice, how much we think about and appreciate our natural surroundings, is a critical factor in our mental well-being, our cognitive well-being, and in preventing distress. So, yeah, nature is a wide definition. It could be like indoor plants. It could be trees on an urban street. It could be rivers, wetlands, whatever it is, whatever nature you have access to. I really encourage people to access that and connect with the nature around them, because I think that can be really spiritual and also just good for our mental health. So
That sounds awesome. Yeah, I mean,
just wanted to say that.
No, because we might tend to like focus so much on ourselves and our lives and just really like scrutinize ourselves, and it makes so much sense that it can be really helpful for us to look outside of ourselves and to just be present among, the vastness that the environment that we live around.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Thank you, Ken. Yeah, we should go on a hike together or something.
Ooh, I haven't hiked the cross.
We'll do that.
Have you hiked across?
I have.
Okay, you need to. Okay, let's
go. It was tough for me, to be quite honest, but I would be willing to do that with you.
We should do that.
But yeah, this was so fun. I love that we got to kind of reflect on a few points and share kind of what we've learned with others. I feel like my overall takeaway has been like kind of like George Pepperdine's motto, like what is it?
freely
give, freely receive.
Freely ye give.
Yeah.
Dang, we're messing it up right
No,
now. Hold on.
Freely you receive, freely you give.
Yes, freely you received, freely
there we go.
give. Period.
We are good alumni.
Yes, we are.
But I feel like that's just my takeaway, truly. Like, it's a give and take. It's a give and take. And take as in, like, embracing the opportunities that we've had, the joys that are around us, the people around us, the loved ones, the opportunities, the time that we have. And also being able to brighten the corners where we are, being able to give back and serve the environments around us and the people around us. So, yeah, just I love that we get to do that at Pepperdine, and then also in whatever places that we're in next, which thankfully I'm still at Pepperdine. But yeah.
Yeah, and don't forget about yourself either in that equation. You know, like give yourself the time and the space and the whatever you need to re-energize yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't forget about yourself.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah.
That's a good reminder.
Well, thank you for giving me the space to be more introspective than I thought I would be.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing. This was lovely. We'll talk more.
Talk more. Bye.
Yay. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the RISE Roundtable. If you or anyone else would like to be a guest on this podcast, please fill out the form using the link in our description to nominate a future guest. Stay tuned for more episodes and share with us any thoughts. You can email us at resilience@pepperdine.edu or DM us on Instagram at PepperdineRise. Until then, we leave you with a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. What lies behind us and what lies before us are small matters compared to what lies within us.
This podcast was hosted by Emily Shaw and produced and edited by Kenneth Vargas and Bo Jaden James. Emily Shaw is the production manager. Sergio Gallardo Palma produced the music. This podcast was recorded in the iLab studio at Pepperdine's Drescher campus.